Next item on the agenda is public participation.
This is the public participation section of the meeting. As a reminder, time limits for all speakers will be adhered to. There will be no sharing or granting of speaking time to others. Speakers must be present when their name is called. All speakers will be required to give their names and addresses. Examples of unacceptable behavior that will not be permitted include, but are not limited to, engaging in personal attacks, naming district employees, slurs, excessive loudness, calling out, yelling, or generally disruptive behavior, or attempts to disrupt the meeting or incite others to do so. As a reminder, public participation at board meetings is intended to allow individual members of the public the opportunity to address the board and the administration on issues of public concern, not as a forum for two-way dialogue with board members. Issues raised by the public will be noted. If appropriate, issues will then be investigated and the affected individuals will be advised in accordance with board procedures. The superintendent or advisory chair may interrupt any speaker or terminate individual speaking rights if the comments are disruptive or obscene. An individual may be cautioned that personally directed statements may be slanderous or defaming, and that individual may be liable for his or her comments. Any individual or group that does not follow these procedures may be asked to leave the meeting. If necessary, the meeting may be adjourned.
Thank you. The first speaker of tonight is Aisha Rivera.
Hello, I'm Aisha Rivera from Central High School, also representing YMS, the Youth Media Symposium. I stand here asking how we can create excellent schools for all children, but also being honest about how far we are from achieving that goal of excellence. Although I'm ready to face my future as a college student, I also understand that I have not been truly prepared for the challenges and competition the real world has for me. I can tell you plenty of sad stories about how our schools lack resources, have terrible building conditions, and have teachers or staff members who could care less about us. But that wouldn't be fair, because although these stories are true, the heart of the problem is not in our schools, but in the system that creates them. So how can we change that? The Youth Media Symposium has come up with a district-wide college readiness policy, a policy that has a solution for most of the Newark public schools' problems. Textbooks are one of our problems. Most students' number one excuse for not understanding a class is due to not having a textbook, having to share a textbook, or not even being able to take a textbook home to do homework or even study. YMS College Readiness Policy ensures that all students will have their own textbook up to date and in good condition. We also have the problem of lacking electives. A variety of electives that may focus on career options can increase the graduation rates and help students choose their guide in careers. SAT prep for all. Most students have SAT prep, but it is not taken serious by students. YMS policy states that all schools should have a college prep class as a part of the curriculum. This means, starting in the 9th grade, this means that there's a teacher standing in front of the class teaching SAT prep skills, and a grade is given. Last but not least, college tours. College tours can increase the decision of students going to college. Most students have never visited college, and college tours are important because it allows students to see hands-on what it's like to be on a college campus, and even ask students. No, that's it. Oh, and even ask students that are already enrolled in college questions about the campus. From my own point of view, I visited Tuskegee University, and I immediately fell in love with the campus. I know that this is the school I want to go to, from the campus life and the teachers that I spoke to. So again, I ask that you support our children and understanding that we are the future. And by doing this, knowing that the YMS College Readiness Policy is the way to go.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera. Next speaker, Ramon Melendez.
Had to be me. Good evening, my name is Ramon Melendez. I'm from American History High School, and I'm a part of the ALI Youth Media Symposium. I'm here tonight to inform you that YMS wants your support for our district-wide college readiness campaign. As a student attending a Newark Public High School, I feel like me and my peers aren't being taken seriously because the college readiness in our schools needs serious improvement. The NPS district is providing us with everything we need as students to be college bound. No matter what public high school you attend, at the end of the day, we are receiving a bad education compared to the districts like Ramsey and Livingston that are receiving a great education. YMS wants to make sure that you support the college readiness campaign. YMS wants to make sure that NPS schools are not getting quality and equal number of college readiness initiatives like Ramsey and Livingston High School. Newark students want to have an equal number of electives, quality books, real SAT prep, and opportunities to go on college tours. We can't do this alone. I'm asking the NPS Advisory Board to remember what I said tonight and to support the district-wide college campaign. Also, Mr. Jeffries, I have sent you an email about our campaign. I still haven't gotten an email or a phone call. I also listed on the email you can contact my coordinator. He hasn't gotten anything neither. I sent one to Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis has gotten back to me. I also spoke with him this afternoon. So I'm just waiting for your response. And like I said, we can't do this alone, and we're your future, so we need to step it up.
Ramon, Shavar.Jeffries@gmail.com. When I was driving you home last week, you could have told me about this. Yeah, when I took you home last week. Okay, well, I drove you home. You could have gave it to me then. Shavar.Jeffries@gmail.com. I always gonna love you anyway, brother. Shavar.Jeffries@gmail.com.
Thank you, Mr. Melendez. I'm sure he will get back to you. Next speaker, Sean C. Sharon, Jr.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean C. Sharon, Jr., and I am an advocate of the ALI Youth Media Symposium. I am here tonight to inform you that YMS would appreciate your support for our college readiness campaign. I am also here to let you know why our district-wide college readiness campaign is so significant for all of Newark students to have. As a student at University High School, I take much pride in being a student in my school, and my principal has dedicated all that he can to make sure University High School students are prepared for college and beyond. The sad part is the Newark Public School District isn't providing him with everything he needs to ensure that University High School students or any other students are college bound. No matter what Newark Public High School you attend, at the end of the day, you are still receiving an oatmeal education compared to districts such as Ramsey and Livingston that are receiving a steak education, if you will. Newark students want a district-wide college readiness policy that ensures we have an equal number of electives, quality books, real SAT prep, and opportunities to finally go on college tours. Many of my peers haven't even been on college tours yet. I'm a student at University High School, and I haven't even been on a college tour yet. Our YMS college ready. All right. College readiness campaign is so important because it advocates the Newark public students to have a real chance at being successful rather than falling behind and failing. I'm asking the Newark Public Schools Advisory Board to take serious consideration in what me and my colleagues have said tonight. Support our college readiness campaign, and let's work together to get more Newark students into college. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christopher Cortez.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Cortez, and I am an advocate of the Youth Media Symposium. I am here tonight to speak on the necessity of a district-wide school college readiness policy for all Newark students. YMS is campaigning for more effective college readiness throughout all Newark public schools. Textbooks for all, elective college-level courses, real SAT prep, and college tours are a must-have. We demand that we have it. We don't want it to vary from school to school. We want a plan in motion that the district is behind and is offered throughout all Newark public schools. I find these initiatives to be so increasingly important, especially because of my personal feelings towards being prepared to being a college student. Sometimes it makes me uninterested in even attending college. I feel that since high school is supposed to be pre-college, we should be ready for college. To be completely honest, I have never been on a college tour, and next year I'll be a senior. The closest I have been to a college tour is going to YMS on the Rutgers Newark campus. Support YMS and our district-wide college readiness campaign. Help all Newark students dream and pursue more than what we are led to believe we can achieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cortez. Next speaker, Vanessa Roper.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Advisory Board Superintendent Anderson. My name is Vanessa Roper, 31 Halsted Street, Newark, New Jersey. One of the first things I'd like to talk to you guys about is ADA accommodations for those of us who are disabled that come before this board, to make sure we get our 5 minutes, and especially for those who are visually impaired who are not reading. And so I'm asking the superintendent to make sure, and the general counsel as well, to make sure that those who are disabled be allowed the allotted time, their 5 minutes, not 3. Also, I'm asking, I'm talking about accountability. As the superintendent, knowing some of those of you on the advisory board, I've been talking about Alexander Street School. Now, I talked about vandalism, and that turned out to be true, that the kids are vandalizing the bathrooms. We're talking about kids wandering hallways. And now we're talking about power schools, which teachers still don't even know how to use. And there seems to be an issue, and I have a principal that tells me that someone from the teaching and learning called him and told them that a teacher only have to have 9 assessments on their project, quizzes, and test side, which is 65% of their grade, and said they only have to have 9 assessments. And that's it. And the problem is that I don't understand how can 65% of your grade and you only have to have 9 or a minimum of 9 assessments. And I have a problem with this is because I have this is a 4th grade teacher. I got 1st grade teachers doing tests every week. We have 4th grade teachers who are not assessing the kids. They're giving them dittos. They're not even using books. Some of them don't even have books. We have children at the annex who have not received their books yet, and that they're copying dittos every day. So we have a major issues in the West Ward and our Alexander Street School and Alexander Annex as it relates to books, especially when we have so-called non-administrators ordering the books for the staff. as well as we have children that shouldn't even be in the building that have IEPs and are not even getting the services only because their relatives are in the building and as aides. And so I've asked the superintendent time and time again to come to visit Alexander Street School and the faculty and find out what is going on in the building. It's the only school that was in the newspaper over the summertime for test cheating. Superintendent haven't been there yet. We have kids, we have girls coming out of boys' bathroom, boys coming out of girls' bathroom. What is going on? And the principal seems to be, just basically is doing what he wants to do. The principal needs a mentor. I requested for that. Nothing has changed. There's something going wrong, and I'm telling the board, and I told you guys last month, this is becoming a major issue. To the superintendent, your directors are not doing what they're supposed to do. They don't even know the chain of the command. They don't know what to do and what not to do. We need a blueprint of your vision, and I guess if you won't give us your vision, then maybe we'll give you a pink slip, because this cannot continue in this district. This is not looking very good, not only for Alexander, but for quite a few other schools where you have violence, where you have no books, where you have teachers not coming to work, teachers come to work when they want to come to work, principals and your directors are disrespecting parents and advocates. There are some major problems going on in this district, and we need some leadership. If not for you, then Mayor Booker and the governor, they need to start doing something else and get somebody else in here who's going to show some leadership. And so I'm asking you, not only visit Alexander, but I want to see your team at any school that has some issues. These high schools have some major issues. These elementary schools have some, junior high schools have some major issues that needs to be addressed. And I'm asking you, please, to address my issues, or Mr. Roper / Minister Roper is going to become a problem, and I'm going to become a very big problem. Thank you.
Next speaker, Darren Martin.
Hi, good evening. Darren Martin, 43 Sanford Place, Newark, New Jersey. PTO president here, and I have 2 kids here, and welcome to Ivy Hill. I concur with my principal here. I have 3 quick points I want to go over. First, I'd like at some point to get a response to this. If you can't do it tonight, I'd like to get it in writing or email, or if you want me to send something in writing, because I think a lot of these meetings we have a lot of monologue and not much dialogue. So I want to make sure that I'm getting some kind of response about these things. So first off, this whole SLC process that we've gone through recently, which is different than it's been in a long time. Now, I certainly don't have a problem with talking to Felix from Two-Seater, or talking to Mr. Barton, or talking to Mr. Roberts, or anybody on your behalf, Superintendent. But the process was really crazy this time, because I think it was very unprofessional, whoever was in charge, very unprofessional, inconsiderate, and disrespectful to not look at everybody else's schedule. First, we got a date that the interviews would take place, and we got like a 2 or 3 day notice. Then that meeting was canceled, and then they set it up for the day of our parent-teacher conference here, which, of course, we would need to be here because it's parent-teacher conference. So I don't know if the right hand not talking to the left hand or what's going on, but that was really disrespectful. So I think it was 2 or 3 times they danced around dates, and finally it happened today. Of course, we have an advisory board meeting here today, so some of us wanted to stay here to make sure things ran smoothly here. So in the future, and whoever responds in writing, I'd like to know how that's going to be going forward, because it wasn't like that before. We would meet during the summertime with the candidates and make it happen and make a decision, or make a recommendation, and the final decision comes from you guys. But it was really skewed this time. I don't know what happened, but it was mad. Second point, the kids, when they go on field trips, I don't know who made the decision or if there is a decision, but the bus drivers told, our kids went to Liberty Science Center last week, and it took them forever to get there. My daughter told me that, Daddy, I went past Mommy's job downtown Newark. I said, why would you be downtown Newark? Well, the drivers told them that we are no longer paying tolls. So if we are changing hearts and minds to value education, we got to really be serious about this. So I don't know who made that decision, if it was a decision or the driver's just making it up, but I need some kind of response about that because I'll pay the tolls myself if that's going to be a problem. Because if we're changing hearts and minds to value education, we need to be real about that. But the drivers was very specific and told the teachers that it was a decision from the board or somebody from 2 Cedar Street that made a decision that they don't pay tolls anymore. I have no clue where that came from. And me having a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old here, I want them to get the best out of their field trips that they can get. Last but not least, adding I think that's wrong. Now, the reason why I think that's wrong is because Superintendent, you came in with the meet and greet, which I thought was great, the meet with the PTO, PTA presidents, et cetera. I thought that was great. But if we change that line to the public line where I call for come get my garbage picked up. Thank you. I mean, that's wrong, and it also sends the perception that you really don't want to talk to people. That's right. Now, everybody comes to this rough diet. I'm going to make sure you know me. I'm going to make sure everybody in 2 Cedar Street knows me, because if I go to the north, I can go down. And I'm not making an appointment, I'm just going to go because I have a right to go and see. Now, I don't always even want to see you, but I need to speak to somebody. Yes. But I don't get a response. I'd like to hear when you guys respond to me in writing or email, whatever, or you want me to send you a letter. I just want a response. Because I mean, we come to a lot of these meetings and we never get a response to things. So you guys cherry pick what you want to respond to, and I think it's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Next speaker, Mr. Lucius Jones.
Greetings, advisory board members. Happy Thanksgiving. And I hope that you guys eat a lot of turkey and enjoy yourself. I like to basically support Mr. Roper's previous comments about making sure that there is a process put in place to ensure that every person with disability is accommodated, because right now the district has no policy in place or no procedure. 504 is basically for staff, and it's a form written only for staff. I won't keep coming up here every month wasting valuable time to reiterate that to this board. The other thing is, who's responsible, Ms. Pintor, for making sure that these accommodations are met? Because when I write those names on those on the complaint to the U.S. Department of Education, I want to make sure I put board members' names down too. Because I think that the board has to also accept some responsibility, just like they did on Tuesday night, to ensure that all members of the public's rights are protected. I'm going to move on to talk to specifically, in my most sincere voice. Board members, there has been a lot of mockery made up around the Newark Public Schools. When you had your retreat in August, you guys talked about racism and how the superintendent was not comfortable because she felt as if she was a black woman, that she wouldn't be treated the way she was treated, okay? So we want to clear up some things. I also think that it's racism for a white woman to come into the city of Newark and ignore the community and the parents and the public. I want to be clear about that. It is extremely racist for a white woman to come here and expect that they deserve special privileges. And I don't like normally get on race, do our board members. But I want to say that the performance of the superintendent so far has been almost not able to bear. Almost. I mean, people want to support you, but they don't know what to support you on. You haven't told me one initiative you have. What's your initiative? What's your 90-day plan? What is your 60-day plan? What is your 1-year plan? You might be sharing it with principals, but you're sure not sharing it with the community. So we are a little bit aggravated. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to keep running to the board meeting. It's time to start mobilizing people. See, in my pocket, Superintendent, we hold a petition. Donna Jackson's right now at City Hall in front of 200,000 people reading this petition. I'd like for it to be read here. Can you read it for me, please? With me. Read the petition, please.
We, the undesigned petitioners, demand the removal of Ms. Cammie Anderson, Newark Public Schools State District Superintendent, for the following reasons. Failure to execute a written plan to improve education and share it with the Newark community. Doesn't communicate with students, staff, board members, parents, or community effectively. Food has been purchased and prepared, and students are still denied the right to eat. Hungry children watch while food is thrown in the garbage. The issues of concern in special ed continue to go unsolved, thus leaving the most vulnerable of our students with poor services. Ms. Anderson has failed to work with staff for the improvement of education for our children, thus causing the moral in the district to be the lowest it's ever been. Ms. Anderson continues to fail to lead the district and allows Mayor Cory Booker to dictate every decision and move she makes.
That's it. That's what concerns us, Ms. Anderson. We're putting it in paper. And we're going to have a conversation with Deputy Commissioner Hespy. If we can't have a conversation with you, we're going to have a conversation with legislators. If we can't have a conversation with you, you have to open the door and be. Not only here, you hurt this community, the great city of Newark. Yes.
Next speaker, Ms. Valerie Quinones. She's not here. Next speaker, Tariq Tucker. Next speaker, Diana Kwamina. Next speaker, Ms. Leah Owens.
Okay. This one? Leah Owens, 189 Hunterdon Street. In terms of the ACT, Superintendent Anderson, towards the beginning of your presentation, you described it as a normative assessment, and that's my understanding of the ACT. And normative meaning, for those of you who may not know, scores are created by comparing the performance of students with other students who also took that administration of that assessment. So I can understand some uses of the ACT, but I'm not sure, and I don't understand how it's going to be used in the long term when it's not a criterion reference test like the HESPA and the NJACs are where they're standardized to the core curriculum content standards, meaning these are the things that we want our students to be able to know by the end of that particular school year. So I have some concern about that, and also with the ACT, being a former Newark Public School high school teacher, when the 10th and 11th graders had to take the PSAT, it was a ghost town. And it was a ghost town during that day. It was an entire day loss of instruction because the students knew that it did not count towards anything towards graduation. So my suggestion is that some groundwork is put down to explain to families and students why the ACT is being administered and why it's being important. Otherwise, we're going to be spending a lot of money on testing for students who aren't there sitting in those seats. And then when they get their scores back, they won't understand what to do with them. The point I did come up here to speak about is that I do want to thank the superintendent for putting me in contact with the two individuals who are taking up the teacher evaluation pilot program, consultant to the district, Tracy Breslin, and the SIG project director, Darlene Gearhart. Last Monday, Talent, Teachers as Leaders in Newark held the dialogue on teacher evaluation, and it was a success in terms of quantity and also quality. There were over 50 individuals there in the room, most of who were current NPS teachers, but also quality because the lively discussion that was had. We had a representative from NJEA, Ms. Gerhardt herself was there, and a representative from NTU, and just a couple of conclusions from that meeting. Teachers want to be involved. They want to be in the know. They want to be shaping the process. Also, though, there's a lot of confusion and miscommunication. And I know Ms. Gerhardt took the opportunity to talk with some of the teachers after the meeting was over to clarify some things with them. But also the point that none of the non-SIG schools opted in for this teacher evaluation pilot program, I think that also says something, and we should pay attention to that. Some recommendations is that the website needs to be put up as soon as possible. There's been a lot of work done so far over the summer, and that's information that can be shared with people. Also, Ms. Gerhardt gave a email address that teachers could email feedback to. However, she had to stress that, it's okay, it can be anonymous. I think that that's a problem, that we're perpetuating this culture of mistrust in the district by telling people that they should be sending feedback anonymously. No, why isn't it an open dialogue that we can all talk with each other about? So that's another recommendation. And then last, I just want to say, I don't know if you got this flyer, art teacher, excellent art teacher at 13th Avenue School is literally being locked out of the classroom, and talk about magnet school applications. Now these students at 13th Avenue have less of an opportunity to apply to magnet schools like Arts High School because they're missing out on instruction, and she would be the one to help them put together their portfolio. So it's great that we have other ways to kind of streamline the process, but we also have to talk about opportunities to make sure students across the district all have a chance to get into these schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Owens. Iman Brown. Donald Jackson. Mr. Jackson. Veronica Williamson.
I'll start my time. Good evening, Veronica Williamson, 49th Avenue, Newark, New Jersey. That's part 2 of another letter that I wrote on behalf of the district and also some other issues going on at Barringer High School. Quote me if I'm wrong, Superintendent. The grad tracker, you said you guys were going to implement that in January? Hello, somebody? The grad tracker, you said you were going to implement it in January?
The grad tracker's been implemented.
It's
for
been implemented?
CDs.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that. Another thing, I was in Rafael Hernandez on last week and witnessed the vice principal scolding a young black child in her office. Her door was open. She didn't know who I was. She even tried to provoke this young lady to hit her. When I mentioned it to the vice principal, he was in the office as well. I pulled him to the side and I mentioned it to him. And I said, are you going to allow her to talk to this young lady like that? He said, oh, she's just trying to get information out of her. Thank you for your opinion. So when the mom came in, I had the pleasure of meeting her, and I told her that she needs to get on the phone immediately with 2 Cedar Street because the vice principal had given the child a superintendent suspension and put her out of the school. Mom tried to talk with the vice principal. She didn't want to speak with the mom. She said that she had to leave. Mom said, well, where would she go? She said that wasn't her problem. She had to leave the building. I've been in contact with 2 Cedar Street. Mom called the North Region. I don't know where they are at this point, if the child's in school or not. But I think the vice principal needs to be disciplined. That was just uncalled for. Like I said, she was very loud, very rude. It was ridiculous. Raphael's in his 9th year of failure. Okay, the same principal is there, the administration, I don't know what the plan is. Has any restructuring been done over there? I'll have to review that online like I've been doing everything else. They're also in the whole status, in Raphael is one of 2 schools that's in the district that's in its 9th failure between elementary and high school. Also, the last thing, as the chair mentioned earlier, she claims you guys do a thorough background check when people are hired in the district through human resources. Well, I also pulled down, and I mentioned it last month at the board meeting, it was presented on the front page of the Star Ledger, October the 16th. The Essex County priest, a teacher who teaches in Newark, to 9th graders accused of exploiting boys. I mean, how did you guys let that pass through the system? You know, how was he allowed to work in the district? He hasn't been found guilty, but he's been accused, and I think that's an issue in the district because we have a lot of sexual predators within our system, and you guys are hiring them, you know, so you might want to, you know, look on journalstarledger.com, you know. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Ms. Donna Jackson. I think she's here. Okay. Next speaker, Sheba Stevens. Next speaker, Mr. Willie Rowe.
Good morning. Good evening. Good evening, Chairwoman
Good evening.
Marion Pinter and board members and staff and Ms. Anderson and the West Ward community. First, I would like to thank you for facilitating us getting a language arts teacher here at Ivy Hill School. We also have need for a media specialist. We appreciate what accommodations you can do for us in that regard. Also, like to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Kinney for letting the Coalition for Effective Newark Public Schools come before his committee and explain the adverse effect that the co-locations and closing of schools have had on our students throughout the district. And we in the West Ward don't want any closing of any of our schools or charters. I appreciate your questions, also the board members presented tonight on the issue of co-locations and closes, and we need to know in advance what is planned. But prior to that, we need to evaluate what effect this has had on our children, and it has been detrimental and caused regression in our district. Lastly, I'm glad that the people in the East Ward were able to get new schools. And I told Ms. Holder last week that when Mr. Assemblyman Cohijo lets out the committee bill that allows religious schools and private schools to change the charters, if they take the signs off, that they can now become charter schools. And the reason why that's out now is because the governor and the mayor and Mr. Cerf want to institute the New York business plan for schools, which has been a failure, as stated by the New York Department of Education under Klein and the mayor over there. So it seems like Newark is a tale of two cities. We need West Side High School. There's been a need for a high school in this area over 30 years. This city bonded for a school $25 million over 25 years ago. We deserve service just like the East Ward, and we're not asking, it's a demand. We want a West Side just like Central, the new Science. We want all accommodation that everybody else get, and we're not going to sell ourselves to get what we want. We deserve it. And Mr. Cohijo, I just called it. As soon as he made that bill, his district got those schools. Other people are selling us out to get benefit for us, for their district. Whatever money they can take out of the Newark district. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wilhelmina Holder.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Thanksgiving.
Good evening.
Use this moment to enjoy your families because we never know what happens in life. And in that moment, I want to give homage and honor to Lyndon Brown, who is recovering from a vicious attack made on him. And certainly he wants you to know he's glad for the cards and the phone calls and the visits. The swelling's gone down, so he's talking a lot more with clarity. The bleeding has stopped, and he's happy for the support. Superintendent, we have a problem with implementation in your administration, and I'd like you to really focus on that and address that, since that was an issue that Shavar Jeffries brought up under the old administration. I'm starting to see some of the same issues evolving in your administration, and there's some serious concerns with the high school issue especially. I want to know if Barringer High students are going to be jeopardized by the loss of that HESPA test. I hope they don't have to take that test again, and then we need some answers to that. Also, this whole thing with Grad Tracker, I'm not sure where we're going with that because we paid $1.2 million for Naviance. Naviance actually extends beyond the Grad Tracker. We really need to focus on these children. I really hope you understand it's necessary to have an effective model for guidance for young people, especially our young people at risk. A math teacher is great. We need math teachers in the classroom, not as guidance counselors. You need to understand what has happened to our city. When I went to Weequahic High School, where I had great guidance counselors, department chairs, and people who actually focused on our transcripts, our academic potential, and said, these colleges might be good for you. And they actually facilitated that process by calling the colleges and saying, I have a student you might be interested in. That's where we need to be going. And we need that with a proper level of staffing of head guidance counselors. We can't get beyond that, and the proper level of guidance people. Also, I agree that you need to have more feedback in this community so that people know what you're doing. There are no secrets, so to tell the principals this is a secret, knowing some of them live in the community, doesn't work, because that's how misinformation gets out there. We need to know if you're going to have the magnet kids. We'd like to see those 7th and 8th graders stay in the magnet schools. We do not want them eliminated. We also don't know about this college readiness test. Where has it been used? How effective has it been? We don't want that to be the sole basis of children getting into the magnet schools. See, what we're trying to do here is build the neighborhood children's strength so that they can go to the school of their choice and come out on the excellent end. And that means going into their magnet schools. We don't want their legs cut off before they grow teeth. The other issue we have, of course, is at 13th Avenue. We have a big issue with the art teacher. Why is she walking around with a cart? You cannot have an integral level of art to cart, room to room, and being locked out of her own room. You need to go in there and straighten that out immediately because children are being cheated. Also, the language arts teacher, I don't know if you know it, the 7th and 8th graders don't have a language arts teacher. Where are they going? Also, the science teacher now has been pulled out to teach math. Is he qualified to do that? So now we have children don't have a proper math teacher and a proper science teacher. And this is going to impact on a school like 13th Avenue, which is one of my heart schools. Of course, they all are people, but right now that's a big issue there. And I'd like to know, if we had no money, why is it that we only got $2.67 for leasing space in Camden Middle for the charter schools? If it's $267 per square foot, that's only 1% of the retail value, and we've lost 99% of the value. So how is it that we balance budget by losing money, deficit balancing? I don't understand that as a mother and a grandmother. I really don't. There can't be no deficit balancing when you're trying to make money. And it looks like people are stealing real estate, and you're letting it happen. So community, that's our problem. We need to challenge this administration and say,
Thank you, Ms. Holder. Thank you, Ms. Holder.
There's a joke there. So we need to have that meeting with facilities, and we need to have that meeting with the board.
Thank you, Ms. Holder. Next speaker, Jamarias Nickerson Jean Renault. I'm sorry, when you get to the mic, can you repeat that, please, so that I don't make that mistake? Thank you.
Good evening. Community leaders, committed educators, advocates, my former principal, Dr. Leon, and my mom sitting in the back. As a former student, University High School graduate, and current nation builder for Bell Foundation Incorporated, I have stand before you tonight with a humble, urgent petition. Parents and community leaders, please reassert yourselves back into our classrooms where you pay taxes for. Yes, and as I stand before you, my younger brother has been out of school illegally for 60 consecutive days, never received a phone call from a guidance counselor, his interim principal, who she don't know, she's there for a season. And I called Kami Anderson's aide, and he's gonna tell me that the principal's word supersedes that of the legal documentation of my mother. Wrong. Now, be assured that appropriate measures are being made beyond the Newark Public Schools' inadequate protocol and response channels, which is to say directly, they don't return phone calls. They don't respect that parents are the sole beneficiaries of their children's education. I, as an educator, know that. When I walk in my classroom, I don't have the final say. Thanks and please. However, as a nation builder, it's fitting to remind you on the night of JFK's assassination that he said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I turn that around tonight. I ask you, what can you do for the city of Newark, New Jersey? Because I can do a lot. Now, I would like to rally my community members at the local, state, and even federal levels to join in the constructive Nation Builder Nickerson Jean Renoir campaign. You know what? We know what that consists of? That consists of you going into the classrooms, volunteering your time to grade papers, volunteering your time to read books. Yes, because I'm blessed. I don't work from 8 to 5. Thanks. And yes, as an employee of Bell Foundation Incorporated, I understand what it means to go into my classroom and take control where I pay taxes. And I shake hands with parents who have problem kids, quote unquote. And I put up Parent of the Week boards, things that our administration is against, because if your child has been labeled a problem child like my brother has, guess what they do? Their sole destiny is to put them out illegally. They break laws and to do so to make their principals and vice principals comfortable. But guess what? The end of that era is over, because as the prospective mayor of the city of Newark, New Jersey, I unofficially pronounce to you that I will end every last one of their administration, their nasty phone calls, their nasty principles, and their nasty disrespect of protocol and response chain. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This concludes public participation for tonight.
Madam Chair.
And please don't call.
Mr. Lewis.
Madam Chair, just a few issues that was raised here tonight. First, I wanted to ask the superintendent, this was a request from the community that came to me over the weekend as I was attending community meetings. The community wants you to put your picture back up on the website because they go to every other school district website and the superintendent picture is up there. But when you go to Newark Public School website, there's no picture of our superintendent. So we ask that you put your picture back up on the website. Also, concern that we have, another concern is that at Newark Leadership Academy, there was a number of superintendent suspensions recommended to the superintendent office, and administration there was giving notification that those superintendent suspensions was rejected by yourself, Madam Superintendent. So I would like to ask for a response on why you rejected them superintendent suspensions. Why, when I looked over the police report and looked over the report. I believe that the administration had the right to request superintendent suspensions. Also, hiring practices. I ask that the administration look into their hiring practices, make sure that we are giving Newark residents the first opportunity when openings come up, that Newark residents are afforded the opportunity to work in their city in which they pay taxes. And I also ask this advisory board to look at trying to do a policy for a first, first sources policy that affords Newark residents to get an opportunity before anybody else outside the city get an opportunity to work for this district. Also, I wanted to commend the students of YMS for their presentation here tonight for the college readiness. Also asked the district to look into college tours for our students. Also look into college prep classes. Also look into implementing electives that other districts have to help our children academically to succeed. If I believe, like I said before, if we could pay thousands and thousands of dollars on consultants that's just sitting down at 2 Cedar Street doing nothing, that we could put the money in the classrooms and help our children learn. Also, teacher accountability and staff accountability. Madam Superintendent, Mr. Roper raised issues at Alexandria Street School. I will hope, I have faith that your administration will look into these allegations that Mr. Roper have raised here tonight. His request for the superintendent to visit the school and look into these issues. Also, as the former chair of Special Education Committee, I ask that we look into the IEP process that happening at Alexander Street School. Make sure that we don't have children in there that's not receiving the services with their IEPs, and make sure that we look at citywide, make sure our special education department is doing what they're supposed to do in order to make sure our children IEPs are updated, because we know that is against the law and that our children are supposed to be regularly evaluated. Also, I asked that we look into no books men in the classrooms. We asked last year for an audit on books. We was told that the audit happened and that books is in the classroom, and we continuously throughout this year hear people coming up to this microphone saying that there's no books in the classroom. Also, I will ask the district to inform this board what is the SLC process. Is the process have changed? Who is in charge of the SLC process? Also ask that we look into the concerns that Mr. Martin have raised here tonight on professionalism in our school district down at 2 C Street. Make sure that everyone are professional and that we carry ourselves accordingly, because we have to remind ourselves that children are looking up to us. Also ask that, as I requested in the former months, that we get rid of the 4311 line, because the parents and the community have continually talked out against this line and say that this is totally disrespectful and that it do not give them direct connection to the superintendent. And we believe that this line needs to be eliminated. Kill the project. Mr. Jones raised a point about superintendent vision and mission and purpose. Board member Antoinette Bassett Richardson have been emailing about a plan of the vision and purpose, and also a chart, organization chart. I asked that before the holidays that we receive this organization chart from the superintendent and her staff. The art teacher at 13th Avenue School, I asked that we look into this matter, and this is poor. I don't believe that any teacher should be treated the way this teacher been treated, having to go classroom to classroom with a cart as if she was an outsider serving people inside the school. We need to look at this. This is a slave mentality that I don't believe that need to be in our school system. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other old or new business? Ms. Baskerville Richardson.
Yes, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Leah Owens for coming, not just for coming before the board and giving feedback about the program that she gave, but for taking the initiative to educate and develop teachers and community people. Many people come before the board to complain, and I certainly did so before I was on the board, so I'm not knocking that. But what I love is that Ms. Owens comes before the board and she offers solutions that she's working on in the community. So I just wanted to acknowledge that particular thing at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Baskerville-Richardson. Mr. Kenny?
I would also like to thank the Ivy Hill parents and community. Rarely do you see a more active, engaging community than you see in Ivy Hill. Under the leadership of several people, I won't say their names, but they do a tremendous job of making sure people are informed, are engaged, and have some direction and leadership. A couple of things that came to my mind regarding the YMS Youth Medium Symposium. I do think that we need to try to figure out how do we expand the borders in terms of how we look at college in the city of Newark. And it only came to my realization when I was interviewed by Aisha Rivera from YMS, and she asked me the question, what encouraged you or inspired you to go to college? And was it your guidance counselor? Was it anything inside at Weequahic High School that encouraged you or inspired you? And it came to realization that never went to a college tour at Weequahic. College was discussed, but really wasn't engaging as it should have been. If it wasn't for the love and support of Janice Day from UMDNJ, you probably remember who she was, or of Dr. Ralph Grant, who had short trips down at Shaw University, Virginia State, Virginia Union, Howard. If it wasn't for, or even for Ms. Carter, my mentor, who made sure college was available, and we can touch and feel and talk to a college student just as a person, not somebody that we deify. I think that's something that we need to look at in the district, and as well as maybe look at how we talk to students when they enter the district from the preschool level, and how do we also make sure that we prepare students on the collegiate level. And I'm thinking, I'm not Herman McCain, but I'm thinking, how do we develop a 3 to 12 policy from the time the child is 3 years old? 3 to 22 policy from a child who is 3 years old up until a child is 20, well, a young adult is 22 years old. How do we make sure that that young person enters into the Newark Public School prepared and ready to go, and also that person can stay in the city of Newark and go to college if they choose to, or take the benefits of going to a Howard education? That was a joke for Shavar. But how do they benefit from even going to school from the age of 3 up until 22, and how do we change the policy in terms of talking with college presidents and ask them, what do you need for us to do on a high school, on an elementary school level, to prepare our students for you to get them ready for college level? And I think there's a last point that Mr. Ramon brought up, was that years ago there was an old practice. You can't take a textbook home because the textbook was more valuable inside the building than taking it outside of the building. And I think that policy needs to be reassessed and reevaluated. The worst thing I hate to see is a student with a flat book bag, meaning that books are not encouraged to be taken home, books are not encouraged to be used on their off time. And I think that's something that we need to reassess, because we're living in a different age where we have to prepare young people for global competitiveness, not charter school competitiveness, not even magnet school competitiveness, but global competitiveness. So I think that we need to maybe reassess what we're doing. And I think the last point, there was some questions by parents that were brought up that said that the 7th and 8th grades that are currently attending magnet schools will be losing those slots, and you answered that question. But if you can give, I guess, the parents who are in the audience now some feedback on what that policy is, that would be greatly appreciated regarding the 7th and 8th grade policy. And last thing is that please, I encourage everyone, if you have free time, volunteer in your schools. I think the gentleman made a perfect point. If you don't find it outside the school, become it. We need more volunteers to participate in our school district as well. So that's my last point. If you can address the 7th and 8th grade magnet school policy, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I already committed earlier to sharing a whole set of materials about FAQs and specifics. I committed earlier in the presentation. I did push it, so I don't know why it's not on, but I'm happy to be loud. Can you hear me?
Is that one working?
This one. I'll use my teacher voice. I committed earlier to sharing some more written materials and frequently asked questions and other pieces of information regarding magnet school enrollment, including the 7th and 8th grade issue. I said we were working them through with the principals. They were also asking for feedback from families, and that process will be completed, and I want to make sure that whatever we share is clear so everyone has the same information, and including the piece around middle school. So we commit to doing that, and we'll share it with this body as well as all of the principals and other interested parties. I want to make sure that what we present is clear and answers everyone's questions.
Ms. Baskerville-Richardson? Ms. Baskerville-Richardson?
Yes, the students from YMS have come before us today. They've come before us on previous occasions, and I expect that they will continue to come before us. They're consistent. They have worked out programs. We may not agree with every detail or aspect of what they suggest to us, but I think that it is incumbent upon us to give them audience in some way more structured than them coming down here and speaking to us every month, but we are unable to really give response. And I would just like to suggest that they be given audience with the superintendent, and that they be given direction as to how we may work together on some of the programs that they have in mind, which have excellent objectives.
I totally agree, and I look forward to that.
Yeah, actually, Ms. Baskerville-Richardson, I had requested that Ms. Merritt get their information as well, so that maybe, either we all can't obviously meet at the same time, but maybe we can break out some groups that we can discuss certain issues with them or with the superintendent. Okay.
Agreed.
Mr. Jeffries?
No, I disagree with that. I mean, the YMS kids, I think they should be commended. I don't think any of them are still here. But they should be commended for the level of preparation, for their leadership, for their passion to fight for kids. I mean, they embody the very best of what we want in our young people. And also, I do want to say, too, I think the college tour piece is very important. I agree entirely with Mr. Kinney. I mean, we have, I'm sure, limited resources, but to the extent we can partner with the philanthropic community, I think Mr. Kinney's points are exactly right on point. And me too. The only reason I went to the college that I went to, which is, I think, by the way, the best university in the world, but the only reason I went was because they had a scholarship program, and it's the only college I visited too. They had a scholarship program, and they wanted more students of color. They flew me down, only visit I made, and that was where I went to school. So the college tour piece, I think, is great, and it makes it real for kids so they can begin to visualize themselves. So I think whatever we could do in that regard would be great too.
Thank you. I just want to say before we adjourn tonight, I don't think there's any more old or new business.
Just one more thing, Madam Chair.
Mr. Lewis.
I just want to make a recommendation that our next year calendar, that we be considerate to the city's calendar, because I know that it was a council meeting going on tonight and a board meeting, so it was a conflict with the schedule. So I want to make sure next year that we align our schedule with the city schedule to make sure it won't be a conflict again, because this is the second year in a row that it was a conflict. And there was a lot of speakers who signed up to speak, but they had to choose even the board or to the city council. So I just ask that we make that note and take my recommendation seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Before we adjourn tonight, I just want to wish everyone here a happy Thanksgiving this week, a happy and safe Thanksgiving. There's a lot going on in the city and in our homes, but at least we're here each and every day, or as long as we wake up, to give thanks. So I appreciate everyone here for coming out tonight, the Ivy Hill community, one of the most active parental involvements that we do have. Also, I think everyone reiterated tonight that it's obvious that we concentrate in high school, and that's great to get our kids ready for college. But nowadays, we all realize that we can't just do that alone. We need to start much younger in getting our kids ready for college because they are our future. So once again, have a happy and healthy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next month. Can I have a motion for adjournment? Motion for adjournment?
Move it.
All in favor? Aye.